Joining us on the line now, Congressman Andy Harris, Republican from the state of Maryland, to preview the State of the Union. And I'm pretty sure, Congressman Harris, that you probably, like, Sheila Jackson Lee, will be going to the chamber early to get a seat right next to the door so that you can see, you have your face seen on national TV when the president comes in, right?
I don't think so.
Well, there are those that do that. I always think that's pretty funny.
Yeah, those center aisle seats are in pretty high demand.
Yeah, that's right. Well, listen, the president's coming to the well of the House today to give his view of the State of the Union. Indications that he's going to start off by saying that he's going to take a lot of unilateral action. He's going to be in Congress telling members of Congress to their face that I can do this without you. Chief among them is the first move, the first action today being announced is that he plans to raise the minimum wage for workers under federal contracts to $10.10 an hour without ever talking to Congress about it. Your thoughts?
Well, this is nothing new. He came in a couple of years ago and dissed the Supreme Court. Today he's going to come in and he's going to diss Congress. Look, the president just believes that in a dictatorial presidency, we're going to see firsthand what happens when you raise the minimum wage, and literally thousands of federal contractors are not going to get jobs because they're going to be priced out of the market. There's no magic here. The president has tried, the magic snapping of the fingers for the last 4 years to change this economy. He hasn't changed the economy. Nothing he's going to say tonight is going to change it.
Representative Harris, I know that you came into Congress very much under the idea that the Constitution needs to be upheld, that the House of Representatives is the people's house. It is the legislative body is the most reactive to the people. This is how the founders envisioned it. I want you to hear two cuts. First from Valerie Jarrett, probably the most important advisor to the president.
We're not going to just wait for Congress.
And cut 22 is Jay Carney also talking about the president's plans.
We can do it in cooperation with Congress, and where Congress will not cooperate, we can and will do it, engaging with Americans across the country and utilizing the authorities the president has.
This goes beyond dissing Congress and dissing the Supreme Court. He's dissing the Constitution of the United States. As a member of that House of Representatives, what are you going to do about it, and are you going to talk to leadership about what can be done?
Well, what we're going to have to do is we just have to try to put the Constitution, to do what the Constitution says, which is through the appropriations mechanism, we're just going to have to reverse as many of these unilateral executive actions as we can. Is it possible to do it that way? I don't know, but we've never had a president. This is probably the most
I'm sorry. I just played your audio, Congressman Harris, of two very important people in the White House saying, we don't care about Congress. We're going to do what we want. Congress doesn't have a say here. This is more than just, gosh, we're going to try to do what we can. This is reaching a crisis mode. What else can they do from the White House?
Well, we're going to have a constitutional crisis. There's no question about it. But because the president is going to abridge the Constitution doesn't mean that the Congress should do the same thing. We will adhere to the Constitution. The Constitution says we have the power of the purse. We're going to have to try to use that power of the purse, and we're going to have to count on the American people not wanting a dictatorial presidency, which is going to become obvious, I think, in tonight's speech. This "we can't wait for Congress." Mr. President, you don't have a choice. I mean, that's the way this government works.
Congressman, I'm not going to hold the sins of the Congress, you personally responsible for them, but I got to tell you, if I were a member of Congress and the President of the United States came into my house and said that I am going to do whatever I want to do, the Constitution be damned, I don't care what Congress thinks about it, I am going to act unilaterally, I would be a little more than upset. I would be furious, and I don't sense that from members of Congress. I don't sense that from Republicans.
He may get some boos tonight. I mean, it would be unusual, but again, this president's taking unusual action. I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to say something like that he would get booed from the audience, and he should be by Congress that he's coming in, and as I say, dissing Congress.
Representative Harris, you're not the president, but if we asked you personally, well, what is your opinion of the State of the Union? We're going to hear a lot of bromides from the president tonight, and I inherited a lot, but we're on the right track, and we can't go back. And the State of the Union, regardless of some of the problems, is strong. What do you think, Congressman Harris? What's the State of the Union?
It's clearly not as strong as it was when he took office. On foreign policy, it's just one debacle after another debacle. The economy, again, we have the lowest labor force participation rate in decades. We have a budget that is still $600 billion out of balance, a $17 trillion debt. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Look, and he's not fooling a majority of Americans. Poll after poll now shows a majority of Americans see that we are not out of this quagmire and that this president is not effective in his job.
All right, so the major other theme we're going to hear about, and we've already heard this sort of endlessly from the White House, is that we have income inequality in this country. And that's going to be a major theme. You know, it seems to me a very divisive way to try to play politics, but it is clearly something that has worked for this administration, and they seem to be willing to go down that path again. What are your thoughts about this discussion that's going on in this country that we have income inequality?
Well, look, the president knows it polls well. The president knows that, you know, this president, remember, was elected being a uniter, not a divider. Now he's doing the ultimate division. He's dividing every single American against every single other American who might earn more than they earn or have more opportunity than they do. He's appealing to the worst, just the worst parts of human nature. The bottom line is we're in this together. Let's get everybody, moving upward. Not saying the people at the top got to move downward, the people at the bottom got to move upward. You know, there's a great tongue-in-cheek article in op-ed in today's Wall Street Journal by Brett Stevens. Everybody ought to read about the equalization, government-mandated absolute equality. You know, what is the president going to do next? Say that the NBA has to have their average height has to be 5'9" because that's the average height of all Americans. What about height inequality in the NBA? I mean, where do you stop?
Representative Andy Harris, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll look for you tonight. You'll be in the cheap seats, we suspect.
Absolutely.